Folks, the Patriots of Act 746 are on a mission to educate the people of Arkansas about your gun rights, about constitutional carry, permitless carry. You don't need a permission slip from the government. And you can find out more. Go to Facebook.com, search for Patriots of Act 746. Here to talk more about that this week, because it's Wednesday at 6:30. Let's talk with Mr. Dan Borum is back with us. Dan, how you doing, sir?
Paul, I'm doing great. How are you this morning?
And I am fantastic. I'm fantastic. It's been too long, sir. I wanted to speak with you a little bit about what went on yesterday. Did I see that there was a hearing stream? Somebody was streaming a hearing, and I remember I heard, was that State Representative John Payton asking the Arkansas State Police about their concealed carry rules?
Yes, sir, that is correct. I didn't get to watch all of it, and I don't really have the full scoop on that, but that's something that we can look into just a little bit. What we have is, it looked like there was a review concerning the new requirements on the concealed program, which has to do with, I think they're requiring that you disclose medical records and things of this nature. And so,
so you kind of broke up there. So, and I saw this. I saw, according to the new rules, it seemed like it was a backdoor red flag law to where if you decide to get a concealed carry license, which, by the way, at this point is only really useful if you're going to travel out of state. If you get a concealed carry license, when you sign that, you're now saying that they have a right to your medical records, right?
That is the new requirement in the Arkansas State Police concealed carry program, is disclosing medical records that may prevent you from being able to have a concealed carry permit. And which what we have is basically an unconstitutional program. With the concealed carry program is an unconstitutional program anyway, and then you have unconstitutional requirements. And so the whole thing is garbage to begin with. And it appeared to be Richard Womack, Terry Rice, John Payton, Gary Stubblefield, and had called the ASP on the carpet and asked them to give them the statute that would criminalize a person to conceal carry without a permit. And obviously, it just left them speechless. They couldn't give them the statute because there isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yet they are still striving to get 746 back on the table during legislation, and the whole purpose is so that they can bring a new requirement back to the state of Arkansas, so that you can open carry without a permit, but to concealed carry you must have a permit, which is the way Oklahoma has been for a long time until their recent legislation where they now have constitutional carry. And so Arkansas is trying to slide backwards rather than to go forward, and it's going to be very, very important for we the people to hold our legislators accountable and to encourage them to keep our inalienable rights intact, and not to allow more gun legislation to come on the table.
I just don't understand why a state agency would resist what the people have already decided. And what I mean by that is the legislator voted the current law the way it is. They voted it in.
That's right, and we clarified it.
Yeah.
We clarified it with the resolutions in this past legislation, but yet they are continuing to ignore the law. They ignore their own laws. They ignore, in fact, in the codes that they wrote for the enhanced carry, they ignore their own laws as far as those who are teaching the classes. They don't hold them accountable. They don't hold these instructors accountable for the way that they're teaching it, their credentials, everything that they do. They're ignoring their very own requirements, and yet they want us to be able to. They want us to go along with the requirements that they're putting out, and we've got to just stay vigilant, Paul, and not allow these things to happen. And the only way that we can do that is to stay in touch with our legislators and to stay on the up and up. I want to read something if I can. I was doing a little research just on our forefathers, and I was reading a thing about virtue among the forefathers during the days of the colonies. It said as the colonists became more virtuous, they began to take a more personal interest in the affairs of government and called for a speedy separation from England. As they became more virtuous, the abuses of King George became more intolerable for them to bear. In 1798, John Adams pointed out that our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. That's something that we have really got to take in consideration when it comes to legislation or requirements such as this. We have to be a virtuous people. Our Constitution can only perform correctly in a moral society. And when morality goes out the door, our Constitution goes out the door with it.
Dan,
and
do you think that, yes, I agree with that. Do you think that's because we are so free, or maybe we were, and just because, you know, we have the freedom doesn't necessarily mean that we should act on that freedom in some instances?
Well, you know, if we really look at the words liberty and freedom, there is a slight difference. Freedom basically says you can do anything that you want to do, how you want to do it, where liberty is more of a freedom within the circle of morality. And we need to be a liberty-loving people to enjoy the freedoms within the circle of morality. And as James Madison warned us, he also warned us about apathy towards government. And he said, I go on this great Republican principle that the people will have virtue and intelligence to, listen to this, to select men of virtue and wisdom. Is there no virtue among us? If there be not, we are in a wretched situation. No theoretical checks, no form of government can render us secure. And our forefathers understood how important morality is among government. And that goes back to we the people. Basically, the Constitution is nothing but pen and paper. It's just ink and paper. But without it, if it doesn't have an enforcer, it's rendered worthless. And the enforcer of the Constitution is not government itself, but it's we the people. And we must be a people of virtue in order to enforce the Constitution in its original context. Without that, we continually have this kind of requirements that come up and to infringe upon our inalienable rights, such as being able to arm ourselves for the purpose of self-preservation. And so then it becomes more and more of a privilege rather than that God-given right.
Yeah.
And so we have got to be vigilant and to stay on our toes.
I really appreciate, we're talking with Dan Borum with the Patriots VAC 746. I really appreciate the truth that you just spoke to that, because what you're essentially saying is that the less, the more corrupt, the more immoral, the less virtuous we become, the harder it is to hold our society together in the confines of the Constitution.
Exactly right.
And here's,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, it is. And here's the reason. You don't want to adhere to it. You have to have, if you're going to police a immoral people, you have to have a strong hand. You have to have a strong arm. And
that's right.
That's what's going on. So we have, you know, the less virtuous we become, the more people want to take and are taking extra constitutional means to try to police us. And this is in the context directly of the Arkansas State Police. They believe they want access to your medical records because they just they can't, you know, they can't tolerate this current level of freedom because they would rather assume that, well, it's the government's responsibility to decide whether or not you're responsible to protect yourself, family, or property, to basically have the right to self-preservation. And what ends up happening, and what we have seen, is a spiral out of control, Dan. And Francis Schaeffer, theologian Francis Schaeffer, talked about this at the beginning of his book, How Should We Then Live? When he basically said, in this post-Christian society of America, which he kind of said it was post-Christian back in 1974 with Roe versus Wade. He said the Christian consensus was over at that point when you're going to allow the murder of babies. And he said basically you're going to have God pushed out of public life, and when that happens, because I know you know this, Dan, but for our younger audience, when we talk about a moral people, you only get that morality, what's right and what's wrong, from the image reflected from us, from God, from a holy and perfect God who's
that's
just.
Correct.
And
that is correct.
But the more immoral you get, the more you force God out of public life, the more government comes in and says, now, we've got to try to police this immoral behavior because it's not good. It's not good if you don't honor your father and mother, I mean, this doesn't help our society. It makes us worse. And how many fatherless homes do we have, too? I mean, when you don't love and take care of your kids. And so, but then immoral people always find a way to break the new requirements, the new laws, the new policing. So then the government comes back and says, well, maybe now we need cameras everywhere. Right? And then that doesn't work. And I'll go back to my first argument. Now we have the social media technology, social credit scores, this is all what's coming now. I'll let you respond to that, Dan, but I really appreciate your point of view this morning.
What you're saying, Paul, is absolutely correct. What it is, to boil it down in a nutshell, with a society that grows more and more immoral, comes more and more laws and legislation placed upon all of us. That is, along with those who are striving to maintain morality, these laws come down upon all of us. And it means more government control over a society, because freedom, true liberty, and freedom, as our forefathers intended, can only work within a moral society. So you just throw all of these things out the door, and then you're going to lose liberty completely. Mm-hmm. And so, with that being said, it's been a pretty dark time here recently in the state of Arkansas. But I want to encourage everyone out there, our listeners, those who are a part of Patriots of Act 746. I want to encourage you to lift your head up. I want to encourage you to stand up and get that grit in your craw again. And, sometimes we just want to throw the towel in and just say, the fight is too hard. It's so hard. I just don't think I can do it anymore. Think about what our forefathers went through, and think about all of the sucker punches that they got, and how that they had the wind just knocked them completely out of their cells, and they just felt like falling to their knees and giving up. But they didn't. They didn't give up. And we can't give up either. This fight is never going to end as long as we are here upon this earth. We are going to have to continue to fight, continue to educate our posterity so that they can carry the fight, they can carry the torch after we are long gone. If we don't teach our young people and teach them moral values, and teach them what our forefathers intended and our inalienable rights, then we're going to lose this thing. We must be vigilant, hold our heads up, and I know that the late Senator Linda Collins Smith, that's exactly what she would want us to do. Stand up and keep fighting for that which is good. That's what she did. She was a great supporter of the Patriots. She attended as many of the luncheons that she could. She encouraged, and she was just a wonderful person, and we need to carry on with what she would want us to do.
I agree with that, Dan. I agree with that, Dan. Speaking of, and I appreciate your kind words towards her, and I know how much the organization meant to her, because I talked to her about it many, many, many times. You guys have a big event coming up, though, in Fort Smith, don't you?
Yes, we do. June 29th at the Western Sizzlin Steakhouse on Towson Avenue, beginning at 2 o'clock that afternoon. We have Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin that's going to be coming as our guest speaker. We're going to have several legislators, senators, representatives that are going to be coming, that have already committed to coming. We have people traveling from across the state that's going to be attending this event, and I'm just looking really forward to meeting a lot of new people and hopefully getting an opportunity to educate a lot of people upon concerning our rights here in Arkansas and get more people involved. That's the idea, is to get more people involved.
I think that's the key. I definitely think that's the key, Dan Borum, and it's always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you so much for I love those quotes. You always bring these amazing quotes from the founders, and I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the week, sir.
Paul, thank you for having me on, and God bless, and y'all have a great day.
Absolutely. You too. Folks, it's Patriots Fact 746. You go to Facebook.com, search for the Patriots, ask to become a member of the closed group today, but it's 17,000 plus people here in Arkansas, and they certainly are on a mission to just educate the people about what the status of Arkansas gun laws are. Decriminalization of carrying a weapon is the reality here.